This video demonstrates the technique of secondary intraocular lens implantation in the bag in the sulcus. With the recent advances in the intraocular lens designs, surgical techniques, and viscoelastic devices, the use of intraocular lenses to correct pediatric aphakia has become increasingly common in recent years. In addition, the perceived safety of the sequestration of the intraocular lens in the capsular bag has prompted primary implantation at the time of cataract surgery, even very young children. However, primary implantation of intraocular lens in children less than 1 year is controversial. For these patients, secondary placement of the IOL either in the capsular bag or in the sulcus is usually performed at a later age. Over time, proliferation of the remaining equatorial lens epithelial cells produces new cortical fibers. This process can produce a ring of cortex trapped between the lens equator and the fused anterior and posterior capsulotomy edges, called the Soemmerring's ring, leaving a potential space for the in-the-bag placement of an IOL. In comparison to the in-the-bag placement of the intraocular lens, the sulcus placement of the intraocular lens is a relatively easy procedure. However, it carries more risk of intraocular inflammation and persistent reaction, as the IOL placement in the sulcus needs extensive dissection of the synechiae. Preoperative evaluation for secondary intraocular lens implantation constitutes presence of synechiae, how exuberant the Soemmerring's ring is, how intact the anterior capsular edge is, how intact the posterior capsular rhexis is, to rule out any pre-existing glaucoma. In this video, we describe the technique of in-the-bag placement of an intraocular lens in a case of pediatric aphakia. 2 side ports were made with a 20-gauge MVR knife at 10 and 2 o'clock hours, and as the pupil was not dilating, iris hooks were introduced to mechanically dilate it. Then the Soemmerring's ring was visualized. A nick in the Soemmerring's ring was given with an intraocular scissors, and then it was peeled off with the microrhexis forceps. Cortical material was aspirated from within the donut-shaped capsular bag remnant using the irrigation aspiration handpieces. At this stage, there was enough space in the capsular bag, and as there were no radial tears in the anterior capsular edge, the leading haptic of an acrylic hydrophobic single-piece foldable lens was injected into the capsular bag, and the trailing haptic was gently nudged into the capsular bag. A Simcoe cannula had been used for washing out the viscoelastic to avoid very high flow rates, thereby preventing any turbulence and IOL displacement. In this video, we describe the technique of in the sulcus placement of an intraocular lens in a case of pediatric aphakia. 2 side ports were made with 20-gauge MVR knife at 10 and 2 o'clock hours, and as the pupil was not dilating, iris hooks were introduced. Then the Soemmerring's ring was visualized. A nick in the Soemmerring's ring was given with an intraocular scissors. Then an attempt was made to peel off the fused edges of the anterior and posterior capsulotomies. Then we had used vitrectome for the same purpose to complete that procedure. This vitrector rhexis was then continued for 360 degrees. Care was taken to keep the vitrectomy cut as close as possible to the centrally fused capsular ring without cutting through the posterior capsular remnant. Cortical material was aspirated from within the donut-shaped capsular bag remnant using the vitrector in the aspiration mode and irrigation aspiration handpieces, as otherwise donut swells, thereby pushing the IOL anteriorly, causing glaucoma. As the capsular remnants were fused to a large extent, the viscoelastic was injected into the anterior chamber. An acrylic hydrophobic multi-piece lens was implanted in the sulcus, and posterior optic capture was done. In this video, we describe the technique of in the sulcus placement of an intraocular lens in a case of pediatric aphakia, status post corneal tear repair and lens aspiration. With extensive synechae, we had to break these synechae with iris repositor and vitrectome. Clearing of the cortical matter, primary posterior capsulotomy and anterior vitrectomy were done with vitrectome. Then an acrylic hydrophobic multi-piece lens was implanted in the sulcus, as the capsular bag was not intact in more than 3 clock hours. Although sulcus fixation of an intraocular lens is an easier option, it disrupts the blood-aqueous barrier with a release of inflammatory mediators to a greater degree than capsular fixation. This may increase the risk of complications such as pupillary capture, IOL decentration, and pigment dispersion more often with the sulcus placement as compared with in-the-bag sequestration. In planned aphakia for infants, the surgeon must prepare the eye for any later surgery for secondary intraocular lens implantation in the bag. We recommend a primary anterior and posterior capsulotomy of no larger than 4 to 5 mm. An ideal posterior capsulotomy would be 4 mm, centered and round. With a generous anterior vitrectomy, capsulotomy openings of size 4 mm should be adequate to prevent posterior capsular closure and membrane formation. Reopening of the capsular bag will be easier if the capsular remnant is larger and the anterior and posterior capsulotomy sizes are similar. We have learnt about the possible sites of secondary intraocular lens implantation in an aphakic child. The key points in the preoperative evaluation with emphasis on ascertaining the space of the capsular opening and presence of 360° Somarin's ring. We have also learned the technique of removal of the cortex and placement of the secondary intraocular lens in the bag and in the sulcus using foldable intraocular lenses. We are now familiar with the precautions that a surgeon must take at the time of the primary surgery to make it feasible for the later placement of the secondary intraocular lens.